Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the September 16th, 2024 General City Council meeting. You do know that's what you're here for, right? All these people? Good. I thought maybe there was something else I might have missed, so. All right, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Dennehy, absent. Councilmember Maloney,
Here.
Councilmember Schmisher,
Here.
Councilmember Stein,
Here.
Councilmember Tracy,
Here.
Councilmember Worthington,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hamrick,
Here.
Mayor Troutman.
Here. Is Bradley Buck here? Yes, sir. Buck, would you please rise for the invocation?
Father, thank you for this day that you made, and thank you for preserving us for another day. I ask you to be merciful to us. We need your wisdom tonight, and we've relied too much on our own wisdom at times. We've done things our own way, and we want to look to you and recognize that you're Lord of Canyon City, and that you deserve our loyalty, and that you are the source of all that we need. So I pray that you will lead our leaders, that they will make decisions that benefit our city, not just tomorrow, but for years to come. Thank you for your great concern for our city and for each one of us. And I pray this for the sake of your great name. Amen.
Thank you. Pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have Chris Jenkins. Is Chris here? Going to talk to us. This is the time when if you wanted to talk to council, you'd fill out a form. And Chris Jenkins is the only one that has done that so far, Chris. And this is about the new method laundry. And so go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council. I'm here representing the Canyon City Historic Preservation Commission. And as I'm sure you're all aware, the topic of the new method laundry building on Main Street is once again on your agenda today. I was asked by the Commission to once again approach the Council and ask you to take into consideration delaying removing the historic facade that was exposed here recently. The Commission has a general consensus that a historic facade is better for the overall character of Main Street than a vacant lot. Personally, I think that the facade could be saved. The question is cost and time, and that has been something you guys have all been addressing for much longer than I think you wanted to. However, I needed to at least represent what the majority of the Commission wanted me to speak to you about. There are several members on the Commission who, one is a retired civil engineer who spent his whole lifetime working on old buildings. Another is an architect. We also have myself as a general contractor and a long-time masonry contractor. So there's some expertise on the Commission who feel that they could contribute or help the city in making some decisions should you decide to delay that. I know it's on your agenda today, and I know there are some very strong reasons not to. However, I just needed to plead the case one more time.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions that we'd like to ask to Chris? In addressing that, yeah, we're somewhat time constrained. Ryan, would you want to comment on that, or?
I am planning on covering new method laundry during the administrator report.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So we'll try. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you. So at this time we have council members to have any announcements or anything, or you'd like to say? Do I get to talk? Oh, I'm sorry. Emily. Go right ahead.
Thanks. Just a couple of quick announcements. One, tomorrow is the regular monthly meeting of the Lincoln Park Cotter Community Advisory Group. We meet, it's a hybrid meeting, so the in-person part of the meeting takes place tomorrow at PCC Fremont campus in room 144. We're in a different room this semester. They're kindly allowing us to use a room there each month for our meetings. It's at 3 o'clock tomorrow, and as usual, there's a lot going on regarding that site and some of the work that's being done and being prepared for. And then I also wanted to mention, I may have before, and I may continue to mention this from time to time, that we are in a rate case before the State Public Utilities Commission in regard to the electricity rates here in our area. And there is a way, if you haven't seen it yet or found it yet, there's a way on the Public Utilities Commission website to provide comments. And they're being accepted at any time now, and it's whatever you want to say, whether it affects you as a resident or a business owner or whatever it is. It's important to know the case number. I'm going to say that, and maybe I'll say it another time too, but it's case number 24AL-0275E. And if you go to the PUC website, which is puc.colorado.gov, G-O-V, and then just scroll down on that main page, you'll find a place where you can do comments on a specific proceeding before the PUC. That's all.
Thank you, Emily. Anyone else? Council members?
Yes, sir.
John.
Just wanted to remind everybody that we do have a Vision Committee meeting coming up this Wednesday at 5 p.m. in these chambers. And the subject is going to be the Water Master Plan update. Master plans are important. They do set a direction for us, for staff, and even during the budgeting process for where we want to go. And so that's an open meeting at 5. I'd like to see a lot of people there. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And the mayor actually gets to talk here. So on September the 9th, I attended, I'm on the what's called the Compass Committee for the school district. And I think there's some things that I would like the public to know, and that's why I invited Adam Hartzman and the Board of Education to come here, and some faces that I'd like everybody to see and know. I am very proud of our school district. If you drive through this town, as I do with people that are coming into town, I'd like to drive by our schools. They are new, they're being constructed. There's a lot of really good stuff going on at the district. And I'm very proud of that. Our district is the second largest employer in this county. I'm proud of that too. Good people. So if you don't mind, could we have Todd and Molly and is Adam here? Oh, there's Adam. Come on up and let's. I'd like to ask you about a survey that came out with this. And introduce yourself, please.
Here?
Yes, right there. Is the mic on?
Yes.
It's on?
Looks like it.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's Adam.
Well, thank you, Mayor Troutman. And I guess I would like to state, too, I passed along this invitation not only to the Board of Education, and I think it says a lot that you're seeing a strong showing by our Board of Education who stand behind me, but also in speaking with Preston, he said, well, maybe we could represent some teachers. That's tough, a short notice, obviously, but there's also hundreds of them, and picking just the ones that you might think would be the most representative sample could be pretty tricky. But I did invite directors and principals as well. So, if you don't mind, Preston, there's and I won't go name by name, but
Please
there's a
do.
lot of folks here who represent at that admin level in the schools. If you don't mind, could you folks stand just for a second so we know who we're talking about? I mean, these are, yeah, thank you. The survey that you allude to is actually some information that we got back from the State Department. Every year, our school district, like any other school district, completes state summative testing. We do that in grades 3 through 11, and we participate in what's called CMAS as well as the College Board suite of assessments. And then they look at a lot of information that comes from that state testing to ultimately put together a framework ranking of your school, if you will, a rating. There's some other things that are variables inside of that at the high school level, but in general, we're actually talking about performance on state testing. Canyon City Schools, just like any district, has had good years and years that have been greater challenges. But this year, and I think what Preston wanted to really highlight, is that this district has 8 schools. We have 1 school district in Canyon City. We are one of 3 districts in the county of Fremont. And for the first time in the history that I can find, we were green across the board, which means that all of our schools, not 5, not 6, not 7, but all 8 of the schools actually performed at what is called the performance framework or the performance rating. And thereby, the district, after many years of refining our processes, doing our local accountability, putting in place our whole child efforts, we actually now have received a rating with no asterisk behind it, no yes and then this, but we are a fully accredited school district. So the schools were green, the district is green, and that's really what it was that I think that Preston wanted to highlight. And thank you for being part of our Compass Committee and our continued outreach to try to involve the community in the schools and the schools in the community.
Well, thank you. And thank
Yeah.
you for all your help, all your things you do for our community. And the Compass Committee is such a varied group of people, from business people to people from churches and stuff. It's a really good committee that you invited me to, and you keep asking me to come back. I think that's wonderful.
It's actually by design, Preston.
Is it by
design? You are
But-
invited by
and
design. We are intentionally involving
I'd
the
like-
mayor of our community.
Well,
Yes.
I'd like to add, it's been a long time since I actually saw a high school principal, and there for a while I got to visit with my one son quite a bit. Go Air Force. Go Air Force, right? There you go. And thank you. Thank you for your teachers, educators that are here. We really do appreciate what you do for our community, and thank you again. And I'd like to set up a time, if we can talk about this off. Maybe we should get together on a quarterly basis or something and see what you're doing and what we're doing.
Yeah,
Might
100%.
be-
I think the more that all of the entities in the community know one another, are familiar, can communicate, the better. And we have a lot of that going, and the school district is a willing partner. So I'll take you up on that. And
All right,
Thank
thank
you
you.
again,
And
Council
thanks for
and
coming.
Mayor Troutman.
Great, thanks.
Thank you all.
Oh, could we do, since we have our esteemed Carrie here, could we have a picture up front with everybody, the school board, and would you like to do that?
Where do you like people?
Right up there, centered in front of the sign.
Council and back of the.
Yeah. Congratulations, everybody. Yeah, I heard. I have bandits.
Thank you again. That was really refreshing, and go do it more often. Emily?
Just a quick comment. In regard to the school district, I think sometimes we forget, but I have 2 sons who went through school here, and they're both successful 50-somethings now. And so it's really important that we have the schools that we have and that we maintain the fine school district that we have. And we appreciate the work that's done for every young person in this community. Thanks.
Thank you, Emily. That's true. I second that. So, it could be, it's almost emotional because I'm a veteran. And today we're going to have a proclamation for the National POW MIA Day, which is September 20th. And of course, I spent 3 years out of the country, and during a particularly interesting time in our country during Vietnam. And so I'd like to read this to you. This is a proclamation. It's POW MIA Recognition Day, September 20th, 2024. And before we do it, could we have the VFW representatives or who's ever here for you come on up? And we'd like to read it to you. Would you please introduce yourselves?
My name is Dana Schwan. I'm a military widow. My husband was missing in action in Vietnam for 19 and a half years. I'm very blessed. His remains were returned in 1985 for burial at Arlington.
Wow, thank you.
I'm the post commander for the VFW here in Canyon City. My name is Jeff Gill. I'm an Iraqi vet twice and an Afghan vet. I have more of my comrades here. Luther Brown.
Could you?
My name's Luther Brown. I'm a life member of the VFW here in Canyon City, Post 4061. I'm a Vietnam vet and a Desert Storm vet. And just appreciate you guys doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, my name's Joe Kaminsky. I'm the Senior Vice President of the Auxiliary. I'm a veteran, but when I was in there, we had the Vietnam had gotten over with and nothing else happened. But I support that VFW because my father was there. He was a member, and there's a lot of people in Fremont County that were in World War II, Korea and stuff. I don't want to get up. Quit shutting. Shut up.
I have the honor of introducing to you a young woman whose father is still missing in action in Laos. Her name is Karen Stedman.
Hello.
Hi, Karen.
My name's Karen Stedman. I appreciate that our community is taking an initiative and recognizing MIA POW Day. That's very thoughtful and very kind. My dad's been missing in action from Laos. He flew out of Ubon Thanksgiving Day of 1971. So he's been missing since I was 4.5.
Wow.
So we're still looking.
Looking.
And we're
Thank
still
you.
prodding the government to keep looking. So,
Well, thank
so
you.
thank you for honoring all of us.
Okay, thank you. Are there any veterans in the audience? Would you like to stand up and be recognized? Audience? I am too. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to read this proclamation. It's on POW MIA Recognition Day. We honor the service and sacrifice of those who went to war to defend our safety and freedoms, but never came home. And whereas more than 81,000 American service personnel remain missing from World War II, the Korean War and Vietnam Wars, Gulf Wars, and the war in Afghanistan combined. Some were prisoners of war taken captive and never returned to us. Others remain missing in action, a term that applies to any member of the U.S. Armed Forces who becomes involuntarily absent as a result of a hostile action and whose status is unaccounted for, as defined under the Missing Persons Act. And whereas we honor them by keeping their memory alive and by continuing to search for the answers their loved ones deserve. We commend the efforts of the Department of Defense, POW MIA Accounting Agency, which works with great dedication and diligence in seeking those answers. And whereas thanks to the activism of the families and missing Vietnam service members, our nation established POW MIA Recognition Day in 1979, a solemn reminder of our country's duty to remember the sacrifices made by those who serve and do all we can do to account for those who have not returned. And Whereas we pledge to honor those brave souls and their families and affirm their enduring promise, you are not forgotten. And now whereas, let it be proclaimed by Canyon City Mayor Preston Troutman that September 20th, 2024 is hereby designated as POW MIA Recognition Day in Canyon City, dated today, and I will sign that proclamation for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
I had a recent close encounter with my cement driveway, but I was determined to be here tonight, and I'm so glad and thankful for your honoring and remembering the men. There are still 12 men from Colorado who are listed as missing in action in the Vietnam War, and there are 280 American servicemen still listed as missing in action from the Vietnam War. So thank you for caring enough to do the proclamation. I appreciate that. I do want to ask and invite you to stop at the Post Friday, POW MIA Day. We're doing an open house and a program on the prisoner of war missing in action issue with displays, and the veterans will be there for you to say hello. And please come and be with us at the Post, the VFW Post, 215 Cottonwood Avenue on Friday. Thank you so very much for caring.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Okay, I would like to now invite our HR Director, Butch Batchelor, to come forward for employee recognition. Take it away, Butch.
Yes, sir. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, and others distinguished participants of the dais. As a former veteran, or as a veteran, you can never be a former veteran, right? And as the son-in-law of a World War II prisoner of war, I appreciate the fact that we observe this solemn occasion. But now it's time for something a little more fun. We get to recognize some of our employees who have exhibited dedication to the city. Tonight, we're going to recognize 4 employees who have a total combined service to the city of 70 years. So, first up, we have Nick Mall. On September 22nd, 2014, upon completion of his law enforcement academy, Nick was hired by the police department as a police officer. On March 25th, 2021, Officer Mall was advanced to Police Sergeant Patrol. And I think we have Commander Bell here to say a few words about Sergeant Mall.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, thanks for being here and for recognizing all of these officers. We've got 2 more to go also. But Sergeant Mall specifically started his career 10 years ago, but one thing that a lot of people don't know about him is that prior to deciding to become a police officer, he attended medical school. Yeah. He's proud of that accomplishment, by the way.
It doesn't look that way. I don't know.
I think it was his first chemistry class that made him decide to become a police officer. But that's, you know, he in all seriousness, I cannot speak enough accolades about Sergeant Mall. He has rise to the level of a leader that we all want to work for. He stands up for his people. He makes sure that they're doing the right thing, and we're absolutely grateful to have him on our team. So thank you, Nick. Appreciate it.
Don't go too far. Next up, we have John Sabatino. On September 22nd, 2014, upon completion of his law enforcement academy, John was hired by the police department as a police officer in the patrol division. On April 30th, 2020, Officer Sabatino was advanced to Police Sergeant Patrol. On June 20th, 22, Patrol Sergeant Sabatino was selected to fill the Police Sergeant training position, and on December 23rd, 2023, Sergeant Sabatino was selected for promotion to Commander Law Enforcement as a position he currently holds. Oh, come on up.
So Commander Sabatino actually started his career 20 years ago this January, correct? Yeah. So Commander Sabatino actually has one interesting fact about him is that he was actually my boss at one point where we both worked for the sheriff's office. That explains the hair loss. But he is another one that we're grateful to have on our staff, and he is taking us in places that we definitely want to go as an organization. So thanks, John. Appreciate it.
We're not done with you yet. Next up, we have Jeff Canada. On September 22nd, 2014, upon completion of his law enforcement academy, Jeff was hired by the police department as a police officer in the patrol division. On April 30th, 2020, Officer Canada was advanced to Police Sergeant Patrol. On April 17, 2023, due to personal reasons, Sergeant Canada elected to step down to police officer, a position he currently holds. Officer Canada holds the CCPD designation of Master Patrol Officer.
Thank you, sir. Don't go far. So Officer Canada is actually probably best known for one of the positions that he held here not too far in the recent past. Officer Canada was one of the school resource officers that was assigned to the high school. What years were that? Remember? 2017. Yeah. 2017 to 2018, 2019? Yeah, something like that. Anyway, he was instrumental in actually taking back Rudd Park. I don't know if a lot of people remember, but during that time period, Rudd Park was kind of not very well liked park because of some things that were going on in there. And he actually single-handedly put together his own program to try to go in there and clean it up. And he did an amazing job. We're lucky to have Jeff, and we're happy to have him on our staff. So thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
And our last employee to be recognized this evening is Tony Falgen. On September 10th, 1984, Tony was hired as a street maintenance worker in the streets department. On May 12th, 1987, he was promoted to equipment operator light. On January 1st of 1990, Tony was promoted from equipment operator light to equipment operator 2. On January 19th, 1994, Tony was advanced to equipment operator 3, and on January 1st, 2007, Tony was made a crew leader within the streets department. On January 13th, 2007, just 12 days later, Tony was promoted to the streets supervisor position. And then on December 21st, 2013, Tony was appointed to the position of street superintendent, a position he still holds to this day. Unfortunately, Tony wasn't able to be with us here this evening, but I did want to make sure that we recognized him for his 40 years of dedicated service to the city. And with that, I would, as we always do, ask council to come down in front of the dais and our distinguished employees to step forward and have a picture taken. That includes you. Oh, excuse me. All right, Cindy, whip them into shape. They're trained not to smile. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, that sure has been fun. I think we can quit now and go home because now we gotta go to the consent agenda. We gotta have the city administrator go over the consent agenda for us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. It's a short one this meeting. So item 8A is to approve the minutes for the regular city council meeting on September 3rd, the general government meeting September 4th, and the special meetings August 27th, which was the art committee, August 28th, which was the water committee, September 3rd, which is an executive session, and September 6th, which was also an art committee. 8B, awards bid 24-23, contract extension for 120 water and an amount not to exceed $10,885. 8C is to receive and file cash disbursements.
Could I ask you, 120 water, what is, 120 water taps or?
120 Water is doing an assessment of how many lead service lines we have within the community regarding some EPA and CDPHE regulations that are coming down the pike.
Okay. Any questions on that? Any additions or corrections? Well, that's a first. Goodness. Well, hearing none and seeing none, then I would ask for a motion and a second.
I move we accept the agenda items as written.
Second.
Okay, made and seconded. Any questions on that motion? Would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Maloney?
Aye.
Schmisher?
Aye.
Stein?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Worthington?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hamrick?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And we have and I invite the city administrator for a report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. As Councilmember Tracy mentioned earlier, we are doing a lot of work with the Black Hills rate case. We do have some things that are coming up. The October 9th general government meeting, the PUC, the Public Utilities Commission, will be coming to city council for general government to walk through the process of what a public hearing is and how that works on the PUC standpoint. The Office of Consumer Advocate will also be here. If any members of the public are interested in how this process works, we will be recording that, broadcasting it. Members of the public are welcome to be here. And then on November 19th, the PUC will be hosting the public hearing for Fremont County here in these chambers. That's from 4 to 7 on November 19th. And we will be putting out more information about that. Christy Gotham, our public information officer, is working on posts to get this information out. We will also be adding a page to our website that has additional information if you're not able to attend those meetings, where you can make public comment or instructions on how to make public comment. Want to let City Council know that you will be seeing on the next City Council agenda a ratified check run. We have received the physical building structure for the new Parks Maintenance Building up at the up the plant. We do need to process a check, and that needs to be paid before the next city council agenda, so we will be paying an out-of-cycle check, so you will see an agenda item to ratify that purchase. Something else that didn't make it into the agenda, or into the administrator's report, city crews have started paving the alleys back parallel Highway 50, back behind Los Campos, Jiffy Lube, some of the CarQuest and those lots back there, Taco Bell. Really trying to improve the alley structures back there. In the past, there were a lot of potholes back there, but with the creation of the medians, that's getting a lot more traffic, so we're cleaning that up, and crews are out there this week actually working on that. And then the last item that I have is regarding New Method Laundry. City Council had previously approved the contract for demolition. During that meeting, we did tell City Council that we would get a quote on how much it would cost to potentially save the facade. We got to a point within the last week or two where we could have some discussions with the contractor, and I sent some information via email regarding that topic. The starting estimate is around $500,000. There's a lot of work that would have to be done to shore up that building. As you can see, we've got a couple of those pictures from the New Method Laundry building. The one on the left is the front east side. On the right, you can see what is on the other side of that. That's specifically on the lower level. A lot of concrete block that is not historic structure there on the main floor. On the west side, again, we've got the front of the building and then kind of what you're seeing on the back side. A lot of stuff just kind of being plastered together. There's not a whole lot there. And then again, as they're working through the demolition, they're creating some temporary shoring as they move through this process. There are a lot of, as they move through the process, they're coming across beams that are bearing load that were not meant to be load-bearing walls. As they move through them, we're seeing a lot of debris and collapses that weren't necessarily expected to be collapses and things like that as they move through the process. I know Mr. Jenkins was here. He's still here in the audience if there's any additional questions. I certainly respect the Historic Preservations Commission and opinion and where they would like to see this building saved. From a financial standpoint, I can't recommend that. I think at this point, the staff recommendation would be to move forward with the demolition. That is what is planned unless I receive different direction tonight.
Emily.
Thanks. City Administrator Stevens, can you say more about, if we can't, and I just don't know financially how we could, not only financially, but with all the entities involved with this building at the state level and so forth. Can you say more about what can be done, or are there some discussions underway about saving the block that would come down with demolition? Yep. And just tell us a little more about that. Yeah,
we, going back to the first image, the picture on the left, we do intend to try and save the block. I know that there's some feedback from Mike Madone, who's the mason on our Historic Preservation Commission. Doesn't know if that, if it's going to be able to be saved as the demolition starts moving forward. But that is the intent, is that if there are full blocks there that can be saved, that we could potentially reuse them in the future, maybe at Clock Tower Plaza, or maybe even on this sites in the future as well. It just is going to depend on, as we move forward, or as the contractor moves forward, how viable those blocks are.
Any other questions?
Brandon,
Mayor Troutman, I know with the screen sharing that you likely cannot see my hand. May I ask a question?
Oh, Amy. Yes, I didn't see a yellow hand. I'm sorry.
No, no worries at all. City Administrator Stevens, could you speak a little bit more about the Historic Preservation Commission's request for a pause and kind of what what your perspective on that is and what some of the challenges to that pause might be?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is, I think what I heard from Historic Preservation is they'd like us to pause for 30 days so they can do some additional evaluation of potential alternatives for saving the facade. I think the risk that we run is that we have a contractor on site that's working. If we ask them to pause, there's likely going to be a charge to demobilize and remobilize. We're going to get out of their schedule, so we're going to end up being on the back burner. There's going to be costs associated with all those things. If we ask the contractor to leave the site, it's no longer going to be covered under their insurance. If there is an event that happens, that would be something that would have to be covered by the city's insurance. So there would take some additional evaluation there. And then from a timing standpoint, as Councilmember Tracy alluded to, we have a lot of different agencies that are involved, both at the state and federal level, regarding this building. We have somebody, Tetra Tech is the contractor that the EPA has coming in October to evaluate the site and do some additional cleanup assessments. And they've already been negotiated once to get them into that time frame, and it's kind of outside of their current grant parameters because the fiscal year for the EPA has ended. Whether or not we could reschedule that moving into the future, or again going back to the back of the line on another grant, we just don't have those answers right now. But there are certainly some timing issues and cost issues that would present themselves if we delay at this point.
Thank you. That's really helpful context. I think I had also understood that we would have to keep that sidewalk blocked off for the entire time period of the pause, and that there would be challenges for neighboring business owners. Did I understand that correctly?
That is correct. We would have to have the entire site fenced off, including the sidewalk and the parking spaces, as well as the impact it's going to have on the neighbors. If we have one of the neighbors who is intending to rent one of those spaces in the future after the demolition is done, they would have to put that tenant on hold until after the demolition and after the pause.
Thank you. It's obviously really important that we keep the historic fabric of our community and that we cherish the older buildings that we do have. Unfortunately, it appears that we may be a little too far along in this process for that to be a feasible solution for a new method, and that the building itself may be a bit too deteriorated. Is that your assessment?
That is the staff's assessment, yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Andrea?
My main interest is first the safety and the workers that are in there, let alone the people on either side, those businesses. That's a huge concern. And I'm just wondering if in conjunction, the Historic Preservation Committee, in conjunction with our museum, perhaps they could document what's there, and then I'm sure we are not going to leave that a gaping hole in that block. We will be doing something to at a nod to that historic look, and once it's documented, there's no reason we couldn't incorporate that into perhaps a park there, because we do have more parking behind that empty spot. Thank you.
The Historic Preservation Commission, I believe most of the members, if not all the members, as well as Lisa Stutz, our museum director, have been on site. They have done their documentation. I think, absolutely from a safety standpoint, that's where the highest amount of risk is right now. We want to see everything come down safely, both for buildings and people involved. From the gaping hole standpoint, we do have an agreement with the EPA and the State Historic Preservation Office about trying to fill that hole over time. We need to address the contamination first and then move forward from there to address the issues of the hole. I know Rick Harmon, our economic development manager, and I have been throwing around different ideas on how to do that. more medium to long term, with the potential of putting a building back there that could be used from from an economic development generator standpoint. And we're continuing to explore those options, but I think the first and foremost is safety, getting the building down, and then addressing the contamination. But we do have some ideas for replacing the building long term.
Thank you. Anyone else? So the general consensus that I think, and I could be wrong, is that we probably, unfortunately, we have to remove that building. And with a forward look, to look into design that would be complementary to that site, what it was, but safer. So, and then an adjunct to that is to try to maybe save some of the blocks, the cornices, things of that nature that might be used, incorporated into a future building. But I think at this point in time, the council wants it to come down totally. Okay.
We will
Comments?
proceed.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Okay, the next on discussion is discussion 10, item 10, recreational pool final feasibility study. Am I on track here? Would I have the
Yes, sir.
administrator report on that?
I would ask Bob McDonald from OLC to come up. We do have Kyle Horn, the executive director, from the Parks and Recreation District here, as well as representatives from board members. But this presentation is actually the final feasibility study from OLC, and I'm going to turn it over to Bob to start. I do know that we have a representative from the pool committee, Mr. Ed Norden, does have some comments after the presentation.
Okay. Could we have your name again, please?
Good evening, everyone.
For us older people that need a mic, we need to hear you.
Okay, is that,
There you go. Yes, thank you so much.
All right. Yeah, I'm Bob McDonald. I'm the CEO, senior principal of Olson Lavoie Corporation. We're architects and interior designers and aquatic designers. We've done a lot of pools all throughout the state and the region, and had the pleasure of working with your community here on this feasibility study. So I'd like to just walk you through very quickly our final report in PowerPoint format, and then we will be delivering all the hard copies with all the data backup and things like that for you to review later. So is there a way we could sharpen the focus on this?
I just got a message from Brandon in the booth, and unfortunately, it's not quite, I don't know why it's coming across that way. Oh, there we go.
Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah, much better. Thank you. Okay, so just a quick overview of this process, and I'm going to try to get through this in about 15 or 20 minutes, so if I'm going too fast, please stop me. So the process was to do an initial needs assessment and then walk through a facility program and space requirements that would meet those needs, and then come up with a design and then apply an operations and business plan so that the city can plan going forward, and the rec district. So to start off, we really looked at 4 different user groups in terms of aquatics. So we have recreational users, we have competition swimmers, we've got instruction for swim lessons, water safety, et cetera, and then also wellness and therapy, specifically for active older adults. When we went through the market analysis, we start out by coming up with the service area. So you can see we looked at 3 different areas overlaid here. The green is the kind of immediate service area, which is the city of Canyon City, but then also had a primary service area, which is the Canyon City Area Recreation and Park District boundary. And then within that, we looked at a 15-minute drive time for a secondary service area. So then looking at the boundaries of Canyon City Parks and Rec District, we also pulled a lot of demographic data, which looked at, you know, anything from household incomes to age groups and people with children and things like that. So some key indicators after that analysis is, you know, first of all, for population of this area nationally, we usually figure one outdoor pool for 25,000 people. The median age here in the district is higher than the average in Colorado and the U.S. Households with children is lower than the average in Colorado and in the U.S. Household income also is lower than in average in Colorado and U.S. But saying all that, there is market potential for swimming that exceeds the national average, national figure. And that there is indeed a lack of aquatic facilities within the service area. So the demographics also point out that we should come up with a facility that focuses on adults and seniors, but also with children and warmer water, lap swimming for exercise and play features. There's also sensitivity to the fee structure and ability to pay. And then recognizing also that a facility like this, it will require some sort of annual operational investment, that it is not going to cash flow. So as another part of our needs assessment, we did a lot of surveying and talking to various stakeholder groups throughout the community. So a lot of community support for a new aquatic center. Also talked about what location would be the most favorable. Everyone we talked to, there was a general consensus that the current Ickabone Pool site was preferred, central location, et cetera. There's a preference for funding, was variable, and noted, you know, donations, user fees, sponsorships, things like that, above any sort of tax increases. But if there were to be a tax increase, it seemed to be a preference for a sales tax. And then we came up with 3 different options, and I'm going to walk you through all 3 of them in terms of a design option. And noted that option number 3 was preferred on our online as well as stakeholder group meetings, followed by option 2, and then finally option 1. Some of the other priorities within the community, definitely stated that a pool is vital to this community for water safety, and their strong support for a 6-lane lap pool. A preference was for a focus on a utilitarian type design, an indoor facility for use year-round, but then also have outdoor pools to supplement that in the summertime. I mentioned already the funding concerns, but possibly a going with a phased approach to the design. And then key elements were a lot of fun amenities like diving boards and water slides and things like that, but then also a swim team to support that and gain senior citizen support. So on the site selection phase, we did do our due diligence as far as looking throughout the community. Is there a better location? We ended up studying 4 potential sites pretty thoroughly. We had the Ickabone Pool site and expanded that to include that corner of the Canyon City High School and Rudd Park. We looked at a private parcel, the Pierce property. We looked at the Abbey, which was considered for a recreation center in the past. And then we also looked up north at Mountain View Park. Our analysis here, I know you can't read it on the slide here, but we ran through our ranking system and had a weighted criteria of each one, anything from utility locations to upfront cost of the property. And indeed, the Ickabone Pool and Canyon City High School site ranked number 1 as part of our analysis. And so on those on that particular site, we came up with 3 different options. And I'll go through these in more detail as well, but option 1 was the economical version, trying to keep upfront costs low as well as ongoing operational costs low. Option 2 was sort of middle of the road, and then option number 3 being the more expensive one. Option number 1 is strictly an outdoor pool. This would be pretty much replacing an outdoor pool facility, very different than the existing Ichabod pool. But again, this is to reduce your annual maintenance costs. So this is a smaller pool in square footage, less water, but still have the ability to have swim lessons, do some water exercise with some fitness lap lanes, would have some deeper water with an aqua climbing wall, and then 2 water slides and runouts. So the estimated cost for this facility was $9.8 million. Option number 2 pretty much kept the same configuration of the outdoor pool, except that we're also including or adding a 6-lane competition pool outdoors. So we would eliminate the lap lanes associated with the recreation pool, and then instead build a full service competition and recreation pool. The estimated cost of this facility would be $12.8 million. And then finally, for option 3, was to enclose that 6-lane lap competition pool and make it a year-round indoor facility. And so here we've got locker rooms, changing facilities for teams, and then we also kept the outdoor pool component. And so the cost estimate for this facility is at $24.8 million.
And before we move from this slide, I do have a question or a comment. One of the issues that troubled me in looking at this is it looks like that we were duplicating locker rooms essentially with this particular option. And I understand that because of the competition pool and the requirements for that has different requirements for locker rooms than a regular pool does. And it's because of that those additional locker rooms were added. I'm satisfied with that answer. That makes a lot of sense to me. But I would request that if you're the design if this passes on the ballot, which I certainly hope it does, all 3 issues, that you do look and see if there is some way to incorporate the outdoor locker rooms for the pool into the indoor area so that there's shared facilities there to the extent that we can and continue to comply with regulations. Thank you.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you. Good point.
Bob, before you move on, there was a 4th option that didn't make it into this report, right? It was an all indoor option that far exceeded the bonding capacity. So, there was a larger option that was also presented. It just didn't make it into the report.
Right. So quickly, just to summarize again, each of the options had an outdoor pool with seasonal aquatics. The depths all varied, from a 0 depth entry all the way up to 12 feet for diving. Multi-use type facilities with lots of different user groups being satisfied. Here's a comparison chart just so you could quickly see the old Ichabod pool design in terms of like square footage, how it compared to option 1, 2, and 3. All of the check boxes on each one of these different programs. And you can see that the option number 3 kind of checks all of the boxes for year-round use as well. It does include that 6-lane, 25-yard lap pool, a lot of diverse programs, and it meets that unmet demand with lack of facility in a growing community for youth. And so wrapping up here, we've got the estimate of the operational costs for each one of the facilities. So here's option number 1. Again, the most economical option, the average annual expense in about 70 to 75,000 a year, and then also a capital investment of about 20,000 a year for capital replacement. And then we also noted an expenditure per day of operation, so about $2,600 per day the pool is open. For option number 2, again, you've got 2 bodies of water here, so the operational costs are increased. We're up at about from 80 to 90,000 a year over the next 5 years. Again, investing probably $30,000 a year for annual upkeep and long-term maintenance. This one was about $3,500 per day of operation. And then option number 3, of course, an indoor pool. It's being operated year-round. It's going to have increased utility costs and staffing costs, et cetera. So the operational costs jump up quite a bit to more like the $320,000 to $350,000 a year. And then an additional capital investment as well on an annual basis. But to note is the expenditure per day of operation is the lowest option at $2,000 a day, just because it is open year-round. Okay, and so we did come up with some concepts for the exterior of what it could look like. From the exterior, you can see here's the kind of the view from the drop-off and along the street. On the left here, we've got a view of the indoor pool entry, so that indoor competition pool would have its own separate entry. And you can see that the view from the school there on the right. The pools around the view from the south of the pools, we're planning on something very colorful and inviting, kind of building off the logo of the district with and different kind of art. Suggestions for public art on the building walls. You can see it kind of an aerial view, lots of opportunities for shade and deck chairs and landscaping. A very inviting and fun place to spend your time in the summer and in the winter. Here's some indoor shots of the indoor pool facility. So you'll see on the right-hand side, that's the view looking south. Anticipate some operable garage doors, so you could open that up in the summertime and have that indoor-outdoor feel. And then here's some more shots of the indoor pool looking north and south. You can see areas for spectator seating, diving board, and then maybe a rope swing or a zip line feature as well to increase the recreational use of that pool. And so we also did a quick video here, if we can get it to run. Let me see. I'm not sure I can play the video with this clicker here. Can you click on that? Oh, darn. Doesn't look like it's going to work for us here tonight. So anyway, we've definitely shared this with the district, and it'll be posted up on the website here soon, so y'all can take a look at it. It's pretty good.
Excuse me, you said website. Would that be the city website, the recreation district website, or both, or?
It'll be on the recreational district website, and we'll have a link on the city website to those documents.
And remind everybody, go to canyoncity.org and sign up. You'll get notifications. I even, as mayor, get notifications, and I think, oh gosh, I got to go to that meeting. But it's so cool. You can go in there and you can say the word cool, can't you? Yeah, I guess you can. But you can go in there and you can put road conditions. You just click those boxes, and it just gives you this stuff out. So, yeah. And for a non-techie like me, that's great. But yeah, canyoncity.org. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so that's it for my presentation. I'd love to answer any questions you might have. I also wanted to mention also that my colleagues, Lance Timmons, he's the aquatic designer, and also Scott Karen, who did all the market analysis and operations pro forma. They're both online this evening, so if you have some tough questions, I'm going to ask them to answer them.
Okay. Anybody of council would like to ask questions? Anybody from the audience would like to come up and ask questions?
Brandon, you could probably stop sharing now.
What would be the, so it goes to election, if it goes to the voter and they're approved, are we looking at 2027 maybe?
I would let maybe our executive director from the rec district ponder that question.
Oh, good. We can hold his feet to the fire. Got it. Come on up.
I haven't talked much about this topic, so you'll just have to bear with me.
Yes, you have.
So if everything goes perfectly, which we know in construction, that's right now, that's not going to happen. It would be 2026, but I would venture to say 2027 is a realistic goal, and I think we should try to make sure we're realistic about the project.
Anyone else? My goodness.
I believe Mr. Norden, did you have some prepared comments?
Oh, yeah.
That was an easy one. Thank you.
That you, yeah. So as they say, Mr. Norden, dive right in. Oh, come on.
Leave it to the mayor. So I've been asked to give a brief overview of the Citizens Committee and our involvement in the process that got us to this point. The makeup of the committee was diverse, including representatives from the city and the recreation district, including your own council members, Tracy and Dennehy. And I think we have some other committee members in the audience, if you'll stand. Okay. I learned to have a lot of respect for all of the different opinions that came through this process. And we asked some tough questions. There was representation from Citizens for a Pool, the group that has lent public voice and desire to find a solution to replace the Ickabone Pool. And what I found as I participated in our regular meetings, which we often conducted through video Zoom hookups with the consultants, is that we routinely raised some challenging questions through the process, and I think we provided some valuable input to the consultants. Hopefully they think so as well. To the Recreation District and the city and how to proceed, which Ryan had indicated there was an option for, and I think the committee was one of the first to boot option forth that it was not even feasible to talk about. And we talked about how to proceed on the location, design, financial mix, and developing the kind of partnerships needed to secure passage in November. I often wondered if the consultants were becoming frustrated over the feedback that we were getting from the committee from time to time. That's because while the committee members listened intently to the recommendations for designs and their expert advice, as what has been taking place in other Colorado communities, we repeatedly offered critique and sent them back to make multiple changes to the eventual plans that you saw here presented tonight. So as the committee reviewed the design options, we were mindful of the input obtained through the surveys and the community meetings, and that input guided the committee in choosing the preferred option 3. And while the committee members and citizens are somewhat taken aback by how inflation has impacted the costs of building a municipal pool, I can assure you that those costs and affordability were at the forefront of our conversations. And while property taxes are a hotly debated topic right now in Colorado, committee members are in agreement that the proposed mix of a 0.3 cent sales tax increase for the city and an increase of 4 mills in property tax for the recreation district is the best approach to getting this new pool built and maintained year-round. My own personal comment, it's worth mentioning again that across the board, residents of Canyon City still pay some of the lowest property taxes in all of Colorado. Now, at our last meeting, I personally was seeking some reassurance as to whether that 60% level of support for these proposals that came out in the surveys would show up at the ballot box in November. And I was told that statistically, the results of past surveys in Colorado have paralleled closely with the actual voting. And so that's what influenced in great part my final decision to support these final proposals. And I think I can speak for all committee members in saying that we hope we've properly mirrored the wishes of the community through the process, knowing that we can't afford to get things wrong in November. And I understand from Bob's presentation that zip line feature in the indoor pool was particularly to appeal to the mayor. Is that right?
Ed, keep it zipping along, okay?
Thank you.
Yes, I enjoyed it. Actually, I did the zip lines up at the Royal Gorge, and I'm still screaming. But it was great. So thank you, Ed. Appreciate that. Any questions of council? Again, anybody from the audience would like to add? So what do we do from here? We just accept their final report and get it out, or what? What is it?
I don't know that there's any action tonight. With council's blessing, I do plan on bringing a resolution back in support of the three measures at the October city council meeting. And I think the best thing that we can do would be to, get out and talk about it.
Go ahead, Kyle.
I just want to take this opportunity to thank the consultants for their work. Bob McDonald here with OLC on the line, Lance Timmons with Councilman Hunsaker, who really did a great job in stepping in for Kevin Post, who got a very large promotion within Councilman Hunsaker's now basically running the show. So Lance stepped in, and we were one of his first clients that he took over in this type of situation. And also want to thank Scott Karen and Jeff King with Ballard King. They all did a wonderful job, and then David Flaherty and Ryan Winger with Magellan Strategies. At the end of the day, between the feasibility study and the scientific survey, we believe we had excellent data. The pool committee, and then most importantly, the citizens of our community who provided feedback. So we appreciate all of their efforts, not to mention City Council, Recreation District Board of Directors, but I just want to make sure that that we thank those involved, because they did put in a lot of time and effort. They were asked tough questions, not just by the people in the surveys, but by the pool committee, who really did a great job of mirroring that, as well as the 70 people who participated in stakeholder groups. So just want to thank all of them, and we appreciate everyone's work through this process, and we will see what happens come November.
And thank you to the school district and the school board for coming along with us and helping us problem solve.
Absolutely. School district stepped up huge. Thank you. I don't have a list in front of me. I apologize. But yeah, the school district was absolutely tremendous in this. And of course, the city looking at vacating that section of 12th Street as well. So a lot of pieces fell into place. I want to thank the county for their donation. But a lot of pieces fell into place in that, and hopefully that gets us across the finish line. This is a different question than we've done in the past. This is the first time it's been only a pool. It's always been something else with it. Now it's only a pool. That's what we are focused on. We have listened to the community, and that's why we are where we are at this point.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your efforts. We do appreciate everyone.
Okay, Kyle, Amy may have a question. Amy, go right ahead.
Thank you so much. Yes, I do have a question for you, Kyle. Could you speak a little bit about the budget and if the mill levy increase would entirely cover the 300 some odd $1,000 deficit, or kind of how does your budget look like assuming that all three measures pass? Thanks.
Okay, thank you for the question. So the question she's referring to will be 6A. That's the operational mill levy that is on the ballot. And the mill levy, what we addressed was we have needs of the rec district. We are the second lowest funded recreation district in the state. Despite that, we have added, since the initial mill levy was set, over 300 acres of property, trails, open space, year-round use, 46 programs serving thousands of people within the community, as well as those outside our community who come in and participate, as well as wonderful communities, parks, trails, everything. There's never been a mill levy increase in our 59 years. We do have needs, and we need to add staff. We do need to deal with capital maintenance of district supplies. A new truck for us means it has 100,000 miles on it already. So we have to do things on a tight budget. So it addresses those needs, plus it addresses the needs and the subsidy for the operations of the pool. So we have identified essentially 1.5 mils in need for subsidy for the pool, 2.5 mils in needs for the recreation district. There's your 4 mils. We are very upfront about that. It is on our website at ccrec.org. There's a video explaining it. We do not hide from the fact of what the needs are. We have said this for years, and we will continue to be transparent through the process. But this does meet the budgetary requirements that take care of the subsidy for the pool and the district, and it deals with day-to-day operations. 6A will not sunset. The other two questions will, because operations never go away. But it is the smallest increase in, or proposed mill levy increase within the Canyon City area in decades. We did not get greedy. We made sure that we took a very conservative approach, really tried to sharpen the pencil, and made the smallest possible request that we had to meet the needs of the district and the pool. So that is why we came to the number that we did. But it was a very conservative approach, if I'm being honest with you.
Amy, does that answer your question okay?
Yes, thank you so much, Kyle. Appreciate your transparency and sharing that information with us this evening and also online. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, Amy. Emily?
Thanks. Some of this has been said, but just to thank again everyone who's been involved with this, including the consulting companies and Magellan Strategies that did the scientific survey, the various governments, the rec district, of course, and the city's involvement, and the school district's involvement. And I don't want to overlook I'll just say I'll sort of give a little boost to the citizen side of this, that there's two citizen groups. There's Citizens for a Pool, the educational piece of all of this, and then there's the campaign organization, Every Town Needs a Pool. And so you can find Facebook pages, groups for those. Those folks have been working very hard, not only to raise money on the campaign side, but also to educate the community. And you think back to where we started, there was a lot of fear and trepidation, I think, for at least some of us way back many months ago, because we knew we were starting from whatever that last point was, which is when the rec district several years ago had that issue on the ballot that was not successful. So you kind of start there, and then so much time and effort, as has been said already, was spent on analyzing what really not only the community needs, but what the community can do and will do. And so where we are now is with these 3 ballot issues, the one for the city 0.3% sales tax, and then the 2 issues for the recreation district, 6A and 6B, that will allow it to do the bonding that it needs to do, and also allow it to make that reasonable increase in the mill levy to support the pool and its operations, rec district operations. So there's really been so much going to this, and I think it's been a very thoughtful process all along. And I know there's still conversations out there in the community and on social media and so forth, but those of us who support this, we all really have a responsibility to keep that communication going between now and election day to get this over the finish line successfully. I'm really excited that we are where we are now, so thanks to everyone.
Thank you for clarifying Citizens for a Pool, and Every Town Needs a Pool. So people are aware, Citizens for a Pool is a nonprofit. They're a 501c3. Every Town Needs a Pool is the campaign arm of Citizens for a Pool that is out there leading the charge with Citizens, so every town needs a pool, and Citizens for a Pool are working together on this, but they are two separate entities. They are represented here. By the way, shameless plug for this, our next big public meeting will be at the Canyon City High School Auditorium. Next week, Wednesday, September 25th at 6 o'clock, we will have a presentation with the factual information and answer as many questions as there are. So we welcome the community to show up on Wednesday, September 25th at the Canyon City High School Auditorium, 6 o'clock. Please be there in attendance to get the factual information. We believe you should make an informed decision come November and not just go off misinformation you may have read somewhere else on some social media platform.
Okay, thank you, Emily. Thank you, Kyle. Any other questions? Well, thank you, Bob.
Okay, thank you all. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
So, let's move on then to B. It's introduction and adoption by title only of Resolution 14, Series 2024, entitled Restating and Revisioning the City's Cemetery Regulations. I could have the staff report, please.
As you may recall, at the August 7th General Government Meeting, we covered the topic of cemetery regulations and fees, and I'd like to present or ask our Public Works Director, Leo Evans, to give a report.
All right. Good evening. Thank you, Mayor and council members. What you have before you is a pretty much exact copy of what we discussed at the first meeting in August in terms of the rules and regulations. There were a number of very minor changes made, adjusting the hours for cemetery to match our staffing hours, clarifying the dimensions of headstones. I think we specified there was no glass or food inside of the cemetery. And then I think we had an error to match our rule and regulation language to the actual charter language in terms of how long a plot can remain vacant without being used before it can be returned to the city and resold for those purposes. So those changes are very minor and nearly identical to everything we discussed in August. The other part of this is a discussion about potential rate changes for the cemetery. The rates were last set in 2011, so it's been nearly 13 years since we last considered rates at the cemetery. In August, we provided a comparison to some of the other area cemeteries regionally, along with some front range cemeteries. We are, I would say, in the range, maybe a little bit less expensive than most of the other area cemeteries, quite a bit less expensive than if you get out to Colorado Springs or Pueblo or Front Range, understandably. So to that, we did kind of present three options to consider for rates. One was a 10% increase, one was a 25, and one was a 40. Just benchmarking that primarily on the inflation and the fact that the CPI over that same 13 years results in roughly a 50% increase in cost or a decrease in purchasing value, however you want to look at that. And I'm trying to think what else there was. Oh, there are a few fees that are kind of exempt from any adjustment. We did exempt the veteran fees, as those are paid directly by the VA for any veteran internments that we do, and those are a set amount, so we did not propose any changes to those. We matched what the VA will pay us, and I believe we did also hold the child rates at the same rate as what they have always been held at.
Okay. Any questions from Leo? We've gone from a diverse discussion of a recreation area to, I won't continue, but anyway, John.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say thank you to Ryan and Lisa for answering my question. Essentially, is why is the city in the pool in the cemetery business? And really, the answer came out, well, because we've always been in the cemetery business, which is fine. That's an acceptable answer. And I would point out that one of the differences between a privately run cemetery and a cemetery run by a government entity is longevity, and that as long as that government entity is around, the cemetery will be around, which is not true for privately run cemeteries. You can have abandonment of that type of thing, and so I just wanted to say thank you.
Okay, thank you, John. Andrea.
Yes, Leo, I was just wondering, would you recommend that we put add something to this ordinance that we would look at these rates every 4 years, maybe. I think 13 years is too long to go. And we really can't afford to absorb all of the deficits that we've been absorbing so far with the cemetery currently. So what do you and council, what do you think? Should we put something in there that these rates should be reestablished every 4 years, 5 years? What do you think?
I do. I think 4 to 5 years would be reasonable because it is a big deficit for the city. But that, in my opinion, Amy, go right. I saw your hand. Go ahead, Amy.
My question is actually on a different topic related to the cemetery, so I don't want to cut short the conversation around Andrea's or Councilwoman Stein's very valid question and point, which I would also support. I don't know if we should put it in the ordinance. I don't know if Attorney Sellers could speak to what the precedence of that is, or how it would be best to ensure that it is reviewed on a regular basis.
As far as I know, there's no precedent to put anything. I mean, there's been a couple of ordinances. This is actually a resolution. I mean, I think it's really a matter of, you can write whatever you want in it, but it's a matter of staff remembering it's in there. So. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to step on you.
No.
I think from a staff perspective, it's something that we can evaluate on an annual basis, but, probably more likely bring something back to council maybe every 3 to 4 years. Especially in times where we have high levels of inflation, it may, we may need to bring something back more frequently than 3 to 4 years, similar to what we've experienced over the last few years.
It would sort of be an asterisk when it comes to the budget, when it says cemetery, and that would. So you're proposing to actually put it in the regulation. You're proposing that possibly it just be brought up top of mind at budget time.
I actually believe that in the charter it says it will be reviewed annually, and that not necessarily that it will come to council annually. So I think we're already covered from that perspective.
You think that's satisfactory? Go ahead.
It just needs to be done more frequently than every 13 years, brought back to council, because this is a huge drain. And I don't know whether you've actually thought about this, but we have a commitment to keep that cemetery green. Mm-hmm. And water is getting harder and harder to come by and more expensive. And so that may come to a point where we have to make some kind of compromise, because I mean that's the reality. We can't afford to go on keeping that green. Say if we go through another round of drought, that might bring us to a crisis with what we can afford to do with the cemetery. Thank you.
I agree, and I know our Parks Director Rex Brady. He's looking at other ways with smart sprinkler systems and things like that to conserve water and try and make it go as far as it can.
Okay, let's do Emily and then Amy.
Ready for just giving a motion on this one.
Okay, well, Amy had a question. She had her hand up.
Thank you. Yes, just a quick question. Thanks so much, Leo, for ensuring that we reached out to the local funeral homes. I just wanted to see if we had heard anything back from them. I know it was, just earlier today that they were contacted. Thanks.
No, we had not heard anything back as of when I came up to the podium yet, so.
Okay, thank you.
Most of the changes are relatively small, and other than the hours of operation, wouldn't necessarily affect the funeral homes. And the hours of operation are more aligned with what our practice is, and this is codifying the practice.
Oh, that's really helpful to know. Thank you, Ryan. That it is codifying what is currently done and wouldn't actually be a change for them in terms of their operations. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Amy. Emily, go right ahead.
I move for approval of Resolution 14, Series of 2024, adopting what the staff is recommending, that the fees be increased at that 25% rate, with the exceptions as outlined in the ordinance or in the resolution.
Second.
Second, Kathy. Any discussions on that motion?
The Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So I think that, you know, if you look at the operation of the cemetery, we are running a deficit. And 40% doesn't even get us back even with inflation over the years. I'm willing to vote for 25%, but I would think that maybe we should review it again next year to look at another boost, just to kind of keep up with things. And with that, thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion on that motion? Would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Maloney?
Aye.
Schmisher?
Aye.
Stein?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Worthington?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hamrick?
Aye.
Well, thank you. That's been a very different, we went from an exciting pool to somewhat of a stable asset. Okay, and next city council meeting is October the 7th. We'll see you then, or maybe before. Thank you. We're adjourned.